guys, and this is Thor's Axe coming at you from, believe it or not, I'm a guest, and I'm a guest on the Hot Lead Zone, Fortunecookie45. What I would like to do, as soon as I get everything all set up here, get my extra lighting in there, what I'd like to do is do a little introduction. I've been a shooting enthusiast for the last 35 years, and I've been reloading and participating in shooting sports for all that time. I first started getting into reloading through the relationship that I had with my father back when I was a kid, and you know, lots of different aspects that I learned from him, and I've just enjoyed, you know, firearms, you know, just, you know, throughout, you know, my whole life. So anyway, to move forward, me and Fortune Cookie formed a friendship about, I'd say probably about a year and a half ago, I guess. And we conversed back and forth, and we talked. And he would share with me some of the experiences he had in the competitive sports that he was involved with at the time, and some of the guns that he had, and his favorite loads that he used to shoot, and things like that. Well, in doing so, you know, I would share back and that sort of thing, and you know, we formed a basis of respect for each other, and I really enjoyed his show. I watched the show all the time, and believe it or not, what you're watching right now is because of him. He's the one who inspired me to start going on YouTube and sharing some of the knowledge that I have. You know, knowledge, opinions, you know, the right way, the wrong way. I'm not out here to really do that. My whole aspect of my shooting foundation has always been in the Bullseye sports. And, you know, I will agree with Fortune Cookie. It is the toughest sport out there. That's one reason why we kind of chose, you know, to do this on the 44 Special. The 44 Special, its roots go all the way back to the turn of the century and the introduction of smokeless powder and how it replaced the 44 Russian. The 44 Russian was a black powder round. They shot that in the Bisley matches over in England and over in here in the States, and it had quite a following, and it was a tough shoot. I mean, those guys would take Bisley, you know, single action army Colts, and they would go out there and with one hand they would conduct a, you know, course of fire that was 50 shots, and you got I don't really, I'd have to research it. I don't really know the bullseye size, but they would take 50 shots at 50 yards, and I believe that they had 1 minute per shot. But you have to understand, back in those days, those guys were shooting revolvers that were, you know, black powder, and, you know, you'd finish a couple of cylinderfuls of the 44 Russian or the 44 Special, depends on what you went and loaded it with, you know, with either smokeless or black powder, but you would have to clean the gun. You know, I mean, if you didn't clean the gun, you know, you would start accumulating fouling, and that would ruin your accuracy. And that was one of the things that you really had to do at that range, is you really had to be accurate. You had to be a heavy holder and a steady Eddie in order to shoot that, you know, that course of fire. So not only were you shooting, but you were also having to take into allotment that you're going to have to clean your gun. And that all comes out of the time that you have allotted in order to shoot the match. So I have a lot of respect for the Bisley matches. The Bisley matches were basically the they were the foundation of what Bullseye is today. You know, certain amount of time, certain course of fire, certain amount of yards. You know, that was basically it. And you know, that in turn, as you know, pistols started to develop with shorter actions and shorter lock times, and you know, the advent of the 45 automatic coming online, you know, all of that was, you know, instrumental in building the shooting sport of outdoor, bullseye that we shoot today. With your, you have slow fire, you have time fire, and then you have rapid fire. Now in slow fire, on the national match course, I'm just talking about the national match course, it's a 300 aggregate. You have 10 minutes to shoot 10 rounds at 50 yards. And all of this is done with one hand, and you can't lean against the bench, you can't have any other support or anything like that. It's just you and the gun. Then you move on to your time fire, and you shoot 2 strings of 5 shots each in 20 seconds at 25 yards. And then after you're done scoring that, then you go to the rapid fire portion of the match, and then you shoot 2 strings of 5 shots each in 10 seconds, and then you score that, and that is the national match, course. Each one of those shots have a potential to be a 10, so that all added up, it's a 300 shoot, and it can boil down to X's. Not very many people have ever cleaned it all the way through the national match course. There's been a few, but and it's not a technology thing either. I mean, it's experience. It's experience and building up your endurance and really disciplining yourself to, get into the zone, get into the frame of mind that you need in order to shoot. Shoot proficiently, putting everything out of your mind other than the sight alignment, squeezing the trigger the same way, having the same grip, having the same cadence to your shots. Your time fire and your rapid fire are turning targets. So when the target turns towards you, you have to fire your 5 rounds. If you don't have, them all off, then the target turns away. So you've got to put the fact that you're putting things out of your mind, like hurrying up or allowing your mind to say, now, get it now. So you jerk the trigger, things like that. You have to do things the same way every time. It's a very, very good building block for marksmanship skills. Now, the one thing that I will say, is bullseye shooting is not a spectator sport. It is absolutely not a spectator sport. It's probably the most boring thing you've ever watched in your life is a bunch of guys lined up shooting, shooting pistols. And, there isn't any action going on out there in the impact area or anything like that. And that's where IPSC and, IDPA, Steel Challenge, PPC shooting. PPC shooting actually came from Bullseye, and what it was that the shooting community actually demanded more of a sport out of it for the spectators, and then the sponsorships that came along with that. But some of the best IPSC shooters out there, they're all former Bullseye shooters, all of them. They've all went to Camp Perry. They've all involved themselves in 2700s. They've built their discipline. That's why they're the best. They know exactly what to do and when to do it. They know how to put things out of their mind and be a steady Eddie and hold. One thing about bullseye shooting, you don't shoot with 2 hands. You do not shoot with 2 hands. And even to this day, I don't use a 2-handed hold. I do not use a 2-handed hold, and it's because I've learned to shoot with 1 hand, and that's just the way I do it. Now, if you want to shoot with 2 hands, that's up to you. There are people that are better at shooting with 1 hand than not. I'm not expecting everybody to be an expert or that sort of thing. I'm not putting that on you. But after a while, after shooting bullseye, you get used to the fact that you shoot with 1 hand, and that's the way you shoot. So anyway, on to the Bisley. This is a Bisley Blackhawk. Okay, Blackhawk Bisley. It has the rounded trigger guard. It's not squared off like the Super Blackhawk, the normal Super Blackhawk, and it doesn't have the plow handle grip to it. This model right here, I bought this I want to say about 20 years ago, and it's been part of my collection. I originally bought this gun basically because I got a good deal on it. I got this deal. I got this pistol. I think it was for $225. It was a screaming deal, so I went ahead and bought it. I had another one that I used in silhouette shooting. That's another sport that I went ahead and involved myself with, I had some health issues with my knee, and I couldn't stand all day on the concrete in a 2700. So what I did, not to shoot, not to lose my edge, I went out and I did silhouette shooting. And I'm going to tell you what, when you take a 44 mag and you shoot 200 meters to knock over a ram with a 7.5-inch barrel, I mean, I'm telling you what, you got to be a steady Eddie with that. And load development and all that other stuff, bullet design, all that becomes, part of play of that. And I had a great time, silhouette shooting. That is a fun sport. It really is. It just goes to show, there's a lot of differences in the way of the disciplines out there. The discipline of shooting and the way that they conduct themselves in the atmosphere of their matches and things like the cowboy action shooters. If you go to one of their matches, it's nothing like going to an IPSET match, or it's nothing like a IDPA match. I mean, each one of them has their own atmosphere. It's like Bullseye. That has its own atmosphere. Same thing with high power rifle. High power rifle, when people are shooting, they're shooting. They got their game face on. But high power rifle is a lot of fun. I mean, you really gain an awful lot of respect, for a lot of the shooters that are around you. Some of those guys have been doing it for a long, long time, and some of those guys are really tight-lipped about their loads and some of the bullets that they shoot. It's just been a wonderful experience. I mean, shooting sports is probably the most friendliest sport that you're going to find on the face of the planet. I mean, it is really, it's a sport about self-respect and building your skills. After you get into shooting sports like Bullseye and stuff, you realize it's not about it's not about going out and beating your competitor so much as you're beating your own scores. And you know what your score was the last 2700 that you shot, so that should matter if you're going to go ahead and you're going to shoot. You know where you are. So you go out there and you try to beat your own score. You don't even pay attention to the scoreboard. The newer people will go over and look at the scoreboard, and then they'll get match pressure, built up on them because someone else is beating them, and then they'll bring that negativity into their mind, and then they'll go to the firing line, and that negativity will show up in their shooting. There are so many different things you have to do in the way of your attitude, in the way that you approach shooting sports, and Bullseye will teach you that. Actually, any of the shooting sports will. So, okay, with that being said, this is the model that I'm going to go and shoot. It's 44 Magnum Blackhawk. I'm not sure, but I do not believe that the Blackhawk was ever introduced as a 44 special. Now, I'll be shooting 44 specials in this. So, when I go out to the range and we do some range shooting with it, the one thing that we need to keep in mind is that this pistol is a 44 Magnum. And for bullseye shooting, you really should have the cartridge and the chamber the same. Because you're not dealing with bullet jump, you're not dealing with free bore, you're not dealing with any of that stuff. The round matches the chamber. That's very important in shooting sports. It's like going to a 2700 and going into your center fire portion and then shooting a 357 Magnum with 38 watt cutter. It's not a good idea. You're not going to get the best accuracy out of that 357 Magnum. You're going to have to shoot a 38 special, like a Model 14 or a Model 15 or a customized Model 10, that sort of thing. So anyway, to move it on, I'll be shooting this. It's been part of my collection for 20 years. I know the gun. It has a very good trigger. One thing that I also want to bring up too about bullseye shooting. Back in the day, back in the turn of the century, the single action army is what they had to shoot. And one thing bad about the single action army is that it has very slow lock time. I mean, you would not be able to shoot this in a bullseye match, your 20-second and your 10-second timed and rapid fires, because you'd have to cock this thing every time, and you would have to go follow through all the way through for the hammer drop, the ignition, and all that. It would be extremely difficult to do that. I mean, quite personally, I'd like to see Jerry Michalik do it. Just take a single action army out there and then just go ahead and shoot, the national match course of fire of a 300 with a single action army. And he can even choose the caliber, I don't care. But I'd like to see him do it with a single action army. That'd be awesome. He'd be the man. I mean, if he could pull down a good score, man, he'd be the man, dude. You are the man. So anyway, we're moving on here. What we're going to do is I accumulated some rounds that I'm going to go ahead and provide for this, and I got some 210 grain Sierras, 44 caliber. This is the jacketed hot core bullets. They're not hollow pointed. I also went and purchased some 44 caliber, 430 diameter, 180 grain XTP bullets, and I'll be shooting these partially for the accuracy portion and also for a self-defense load. I had to dig around because it's been a few years, but I don't even think this is available anymore. This is the Lee 200 grain. It casts in 429, a 200 grain wad cutter, and I bought this years ago and I tried it, and you know what? I found out that this bullet mold will drop bullets extremely close to each other in bullet weight. This is an excellent bullet. This actually is an excellent mold. A friend of mine had the Seiko mold, and it was like 205 grain wad cutter. And I shot these against his, and these always shot more accurately for some reason. This was actually a really good bullet mold that Lee came out with, but I think they discontinued it because of lack of interest. I would definitely buy one of these in a 6-cavity mold. I would. I'd buy 2 6-cavity molds, so that way I can make 12 at a time and just keep them rotating underneath the casting furnace. So anyway, so that's what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and shoot some full wad cutter. I also have my own Keith type. This is the Lyman. This is the Lyman Keith, 245 grain, semi-wide cutter. This is the bullet that Elmer Keith, designed for shooting the 44 Magnum. So we'll be trying that. Another thing too I wanted to kind of bring up too, back in the turn of the century when they were using black powder, they were also using straight lead. Very little tin in it. They didn't have antimony in it. They didn't have the alloys in the bullets that we use. So therefore, cleaning your gun, during that, that 1 shot per minute, sort of thing when you were doing the Bisley match, you were also dealing with leading as well. So, there's a lot of different designs. If you have a book that has anything to do with the Ideal Bullet Company or the Lyman Gun Sight Company, or even I didn't really. I kind of thumbed through my cast bullet book that I just bought. I think it's the 4th edition, but the 3rd edition I believe had a little bit more history about Lyman and the different bullet molds, and some of those were actually tailored for the 44 Special as being very accurate rounds for it. So anyway, to keep moving on, one of my friends, he operates Aardvark Enterprises. Aardvark Enterprises makes hard cast bullets. This is the Cowboy 200 grain bullet. We'll be shooting some of these, and also we'll be shooting 180 grain tourniqueted cone. He had very limited supplies for some reason when I went over there and visited him. I only have a handful of these, these and the other ones that he had on hand. And as a treat, I'd like to take you guys over there and meet Rick and see his operation. So, but we're going to have to nail him down when he has time. He's a very busy man. So, he works too, and he also runs his cast bullet business. Aardvark Enterprises, look it up on the internet. This is the 240 grain. Oh no, the 215 grain, excuse me. And we'll be shooting some of these as well. And these were provided by Rick over there at Aardvark Enterprises. you know, he really kind of helped me out. I didn't have to go out and, you know, purchase molds or anything like that. And I believe these are in NOE or NOI bullet molds. So I'm going to give these a try, and you know, if I have real good luck with this, you know, semi-wide cutter or trunicated cone out of this, the 180 grain, I might end up buying this mold. So we'll see where it goes. Anyway, so this is Thor's axe, and I'm going to tell you something. I'm very humbled that Fortune Cookie asked me to go ahead and do a show with you guys, and you know, get involved with this video book. I think that what we're doing is we're going out on a limb right now, and we have the collaboration of the video book. We have the sharing of information, but we still have our own channels. And I want to tell you something. You know, one thing I will say about Fortune Cookie 45, more than anything else, more than his guns, more than his bullets, more than anything else, more than even his channel, he cares about shooting. He cares about the shooting sports. And I can see that in the man. You know, I mean, there's a certain thing that you can see when, you know, you watch him shoot. You know, from the very first time I seen him shoot, I knew right then and there, this guy's been on the firing line before. This guy has fired a few rounds downrange for score. I can see that. And I can see that the way that he bared down on the sights, the way that he was, you know, feathering the trigger, making sure that his, you know, trigger finger was, you know, positioned just right and his grip was just right. You know, the guy's been around a while, and that's what started our friendship. And hats off to the guy. Hats off to the guy. I mean, he got me involved with YouTube, and I'll tell you what, he's great. You know, he's a great dude, great guy. So we'll see where this goes. I've got a number of different powders I'm going to go ahead and try. I'm going to try HS6. I'm going to try Unique. I'm going to go ahead and try some Bullseye. I'll try some AA number 7. What else have I got? I think I might even have some IMR 4227. And I'll have to look. I'll have to look. But the major ones will be pistol powders. And most of these loads that I'm going to shoot are not going to be barn burners either. These are going to be tailored just strictly for accuracy. That's what I want. I want nothing but accuracy. Another thing too, I've never had a reason to go out and buy a chronograph or do any you know, standard deviation work or anything like that, because the only thing that I'm interested in is whether or not that's going to shoot right. I can care less how fast it's going. If this goes faster than the last one that I shot, but at least, you know, it within the, you know, the range that I shot it, that I shot accurately along with the last one that I shot, then I can care less how fast it was going. If there's a 50-foot spread between these two, I don't care, because the thing is, though, is I'm shooting for accuracy, period. Just strictly accuracy. And that 50 feet per second is not going to throw that accuracy off at that range that I'm shooting. Now, at longer ranges, yes, I will agree there. You know, then your standard deviation will come in. But also you have to take into consideration, you know, ambient temperature, air density, the density of the load. You know, there's a lot that goes into that for long range shooting with pistols and rifles. So anyway, that's who I am. This is Thor's Axe, and if this is the first time that you've, you know, witnessed my show or had anything to do with me, I welcome you along, and, you know, we've got plenty of room in the van, guys. Just pile in. You know, we're all going to be going on this journey, and we're going to stay on the road, and we're going to take that road wherever it goes, all the way to the end, you know, wherever that is. So I'm looking forward to this. I have a wild card. I'm not going to tell you about right now, but we'll see. We'll see. So anyway, this is Thor's Axe. I'm looking forward to every aspect of this, and I will say this much. Fortune Cookie, I feel like that I got invited on the Johnny Carson show, you know, or you know, Jay Leno called me or something like that. I mean, you know, who you are and where you are in the YouTube community, I think this is just great. I'm very honored. You know, I'm going to try my best with my crummy camera and you know, my lack of skills, and you know, for video editing and stuff like that. So you know, I mean, you guys are just going to have to bear along with me. I'm still new at this. I haven't been doing it for very long. So anyway, this is Thor's Axe. This was my introduction. and I'm looking forward to it. And you know, I'm just going to go ahead and wait for Fortune Cookie to go ahead and come out with his first video. I've acquired brass. I've acquired all the materials so far that I'm going to need to get this thing started on my end. And what Fortune Cookie will do is he'll put a video link. So when he's done with his chapter in the video book, then you can click on mine, and then vice versa. We'll just, you know, switch back and forth. Maybe a week apart, you know, give ourselves a little room there so it isn't too much like work. But I'm looking forward to it. So this is Thor's Axe, and I'm signing out, and I'll see you guys on the next video in the video book of the 44 Special.